Spring has sprung.
It has.
It is a beautiful day here in May in Virginia.
You're a poet.
And I wouldn't have it any other way.
That's right.
And we're standing here today in front of a clear cut we had done 2 years ago. It's about 13 acres. And one of my favorite things about this time of year is kind of just going back and being a kid again and just kind of wandering around your property, exploring, and all the work that you do as far as management. Listen to the birds.
I know.
They are singing their little hearts
Could you
out.
please be quiet?
I'm trying to film an important video here. But no, like going through all the work that you've done over the past 6 months, year, whatever it is, and just seeing the response. And this is obviously the perfect time of year to do it because there's so much life during spring. I mean, listen to the birds. There's new wildlife, turkey poults, fawns are dropping, birds are nesting, new plant life. And it's really exciting to get out, wander, explore, be curious like a kid. There's just so much to go and see and do and evaluate.
Yeah. It's funny, I've been to Virginia a lot of the seasons except for like spring. Now I've been here early spring for turkey season, but nothing to this extent. Now, I was driving to Cody's here and it's just amazing, like you said, that the life, their flowers are fresh. You can identify the plant. I tell clients all the time, you know when your property is being managed correctly when you stop and you listen. And they're telling you that you're going on the right path. It's exciting. It's a heck of an ecosystem that, you guys created behind us, And I mean, it's a clear cut. That's a big, is that the right thing to do on my piece of property? And, we kind of coined the thing of that uncomfortable feeling of wildlife management. And I can't imagine landowners going out there going, I know I need to do a cut, and then going to the step, like maybe a forester came in and said, hey, how about we just start over? And then you have this.
Yeah. It's scary. Yeah, I mean, this looks good now because, it's green. It's the time of year where it looks good. It's green, there's life, there's plants growing, there's wildlife responding to it. But rewind 2 years ago when the logger did it, I've been doing this for a while. We've cut timber off of our property at different stages a handful of times. I know the response we're going to get, but you come back the day he does it, and it's not pretty. It's not pretty for like a while. Yeah. I mean, you gotta, look past the immediate and look at the big picture, look down the road at what's going to happen. And what's going to happen is this response, but it makes you uneasy. And I remember when we first came back here, the day logger was still cutting and this was all, he had just finished this part of it. And my brother and mom were like, is this what you wanted? It's like, I hope, I think, it doesn't feel like it now. But again, looking at the big picture, it will be. And, going for a walk this time of year it reminds you that you did do the right thing.
It's so funny when you open your world. Cody and I, we talk about that all the time. Quit being one species oriented, open up your world, be a conservationist, find that person in you. Where if you're just doing deer, maybe even turkey, let's just say deer, because that's what most of the people are managing for. You don't get to enjoy the whole process of that regeneration. Yeah. You miss everything. The fun stuff, you get to enjoy it as soon as that logger starts leaving after that first year of that growth. There's life starting to happen. We talked about it in our last videos, the whole process. But when you have something like this whole different type of ecosystem, it's got different stages of life, it has different stages of growth, and different wildlife utilizing that. Yeah. I mean, we're sitting here getting all set up and a spider walked by me and I started chuckling it's just a whole dynamic of everything, things that we miss, and it's so exciting. It's not that shock and awe like we gotta wait 3 or 4 years until we start getting that major flush, major growth of, for deer, those groceries, the high protein and everything like that. But there's birds, a whole nother type of thing, turkeys not nesting, the whole dynamic. It's awesome that you can be enjoying.
And that's what we're going to do right now in this video is we're going to explore this clear cut and others we have on the property and examine the response, because all these clear cuts, we're going into its second growing season. It's had one full growing season. We're going to evaluate the plant response, identify different plants that we see, how they're beneficial to wildlife, and yeah, kind of just, again, like rewind the clock to when we were kids and go explore, see what we see, and yeah, share it with you as we go. All right, our first plant, and as you can see, deer have already responded to it, already taken a nice bite out of it. And it's actually my favorite plant. If I had to pick a native vegetation, which would be my favorite, it would be this right here, and it's pokeweed. And it's incredibly beneficial to all wildlife, really high in protein, north of 30%. And I mean, if deer's your focus and you've got pokeweed on your property, then you got a good thing going. Once it matures and produces a fruit later in the summer, early in the fall, birds love the fruit, which they do some free seeding for you. So we have pokeweed here. I'm always excited to see it. Deer have responded to it already. It's exciting to see. It looks good. If I were a deer, I'd want to take a bite out of this leaf myself, so I am on board with that. And then we go for a little bit of a walk, and you don't have to look hard to find more native vegetation, more plants that wildlife can benefit from. Here we have some raspberry that a deer has already nipped off. You can see this is first year, this is this year's growth right here. Deer have, I'm not going to grab a hold of it, I've learned that the hard way. You can see deer have browsed that. We've got some greenbrier right here growing in the midst of all this autumn olive. And that's another cool thing that you learn this time of year when you get out and go for a walk and explore and really focus on, look for specific things. We have roads all the way around this clear cut, which will work for fire breaks for us in the future. But if I were to just drive around it and look from afar, it's just a bunch of green, and I might think it's a tremendous success, or I might think it's a tremendous failure, just observing from afar. But getting out in it and actually looking for specific things, paying attention to the little details. You see this greenbrier, which again is a favorite deer food, but it's in this sea of autumn olive and is going to, if I don't treat this autumn olive, the autumn olive will outcompete the greenbrier. So it's, if I weren't out in here actively observing, I wouldn't have noticed this. So I can evaluate this and make a plan to treat it further. But love to see greenbrier, don't like to see autumn olive. We will kill that, no problem. But we've got poplar seedlings here. We have an ash seedling. We have another little bitty greenbrier right here trying to make its way into the world. We have wild grape right here, which is exciting to see. Coralberry, which is a native shrub. Some people call it buckbrush. I enjoy seeing it. It produces a real pretty coral colored fruit late summer, early fall. Mildly preferred by deer, but birds go crazy for it. And that's just in this little area right here. We found, I don't know how many beneficial plants, learned what we need to treat. Autumn olive, there's some barberry over my shoulder. You can see the white flowers on blackberry, which is obviously beneficial to wildlife. So just in this little area, we took a quick walk, found out what we need to improve on by treating the invasives, but found so much life, so much food that benefits deer, turkeys, songbirds. Seeing this now makes having the logger do all of his work when he did it so much worth it.
It's so exciting when you get to walk around and open your mind and eyes to this type of environment, this clear cut, because the stages of life like Cody and I were talking about, it's really neat. Cody mentioned all the plants that were starting to grow, the briars, the rubus species, the trees, all that great stuff. And it produces so much protein. If we're talking about white-tailed deer, it produces so much protein, water intake for wildlife. And then also the mineral content, it's out of this world. So this is nothing but a big giant food plot for deer. But overall, we do a fire through this, we do some herbiciding to kill the invasives. We are going to be producing thousands of pounds of food per acre by strictly doing some cutting. In this case, we did some clear cutting. So we're going to be producing a lot of tonnage of food per acre that's beneficial to, more specifically, white-tailed deer. The protein, the mineral, water intake, etc. I mean, it is nothing but a smorgasbord in here, and there's a lot of oak regeneration going on, which is such a positive thing. We talked about that before in our past videos, how important oaks need sun, and by golly, we gave it sun. So it's really interesting, and it's so neat to see all this good quality browse, good quality nesting thing for songbirds, and turkeys will be nesting in this in years to come with the broom sedge and the grasses and all that other stuff. You know, bugging opportunities for poults. It's just a whole life cycle of everything that this will produce. So don't be afraid to jump into something like this after you talk to a quality, a certified biologist and forester, that is. So, but other than that, this is something to enjoy, and that uncomfortable feeling of wildlife management. When you start doing this stuff, you'll start easing up on yourself and realizing that you did make the right decision.
All right, I would say this is my favorite time of year, but if you were to ask me 3 months ago, the chainsaw in my hand, I would say that's my favorite time of year. If you were to fast forward till fall and have a bow in my hand, I'd say that's my favorite time of year. But this time of year, it is so exciting because you go through a walk through the areas that you've done management on, and you take it all in, kind of give yourself a pat on the back and look at what you've done positively for wildlife. And you go through a little area. Eric and I just did a little bit of a walk, and imagine you're a deer, 3 steps and a nibble. That's how deer feed their browsers. And I mean, we identified so many different plant species that white-tailed deer can take a bite of pokeweed, take 3 steps, take a bite of greenbrier, take 3 steps, take a bite of ragweed, take 3 steps. This, as Eric said, is a grocery store. And again, there's so much right here in front of me. I mean, I see pokeweed, blackberry, oak seedlings, there's a chestnut oak, a white oak seedling, so much life in this area that we created. And when we had the logger come in here and do this a couple years ago, we knew that this was going to be the response, but when he did it, it was that uncomfortable feeling of wildlife management that we've talked about. You're unsure if you did the right thing. You have that uneasy feeling, but you fast forward to now, and I'm kind of wishing we would have cut more trees, because you see the life that we created. The songbirds are still singing their little hearts out. So much food out here for all wildlife, and yeah, we did a good thing. We created life doing this, and it's exciting to see. And that's just one part of wildlife management that I enjoy. It's what I enjoy most, is doing the work and seeing wildlife respond to it. And if you're anything like me, you enjoy it the same. And as it is for me, I'm sure it is the same for you. Wildlife, it's our way of life.